After having 7 different release dates, the 9th DC Extended Universe movie is finally out. Wonder Woman 1984 is in theaters and on HBO Max, but is it any good? We'll find out coming up. Hey everybody, Dragon Movie Guy here with another movie review. Today's review is for the long-awaited sequel to the 2017 mega-hit movie Wonder Woman, starring Gal Gadot, Kristen Wiig, and Chris Pine. Of course, we're talking about Wonder Woman 1984, also starring Pedro Pascal, Connie Nielsen, and Wright. If we're just meeting, I am Dragon Movie Guy, and if you like what I'm doing here, please be sure to hit the like button until it turns blue for the YouTube algorithm, and be sure to subscribe so you can find out the very second I post any videos to this channel. Wonder Woman 1984 is, as the title suggests, an 80s-themed movie set roughly 70 years after the original film. However, instead of starting the film in the 1980s like you might assume, we end up back in Themyscira to a flashback to Diana's youth. Gal Gadot returns as Diana Prince Wonder Woman, along with Chris Pine as Steve Trevor, Wright as Antiope, and Connie Nielsen as Hippolyta. Wonder Woman 1984 starts off with Lily Aspell returning as a now 10-year-old Diana, competing in an obstacle course triathlon type thing, sort of akin to the Podracing sequence from Star Wars Episode 1 meets American Ninja Warrior. In the race, Diana gets knocked off her horse, but instead of getting back up on her horse, she decides to cheat. This race takes up 11 minutes of screen time. Let me say that again. The opening race takes up 11 minutes. Yikes. This is a pretty cool racing sequence. It is really well designed. However, by the time we get to the end of the racing sequence, we haven't really learned anything new. We haven't really seen anything that's going to affect the film later on. And instead of setting up the film, setting the tone for the film, learning something new about Diana we didn't know before, it just sort of ends. Jump forward to the 1980s and we find Wonder Woman at the top of her game, wearing the most colorful, star-spangly, all-American, you go girl Wonder Woman costume we've seen yet in the DCEU Snyderverse. Diana is swinging around town like Spider-Man. She's saving joggers, she's foiling robberies, and she's taking care to knock out all the security cameras so that no one can see her, even though it's broad daylight. She's saving dozens of people, and anyone can just take out a camera and take a picture. In a really cool action sequence, we see Wonder Woman using her lasso of truth in all sorts of new ways we did not see in the first film, and she saves the day by capturing all the robbers at the mall. And for some reason, the robbers were running from armed mall security guys. I grew up in the 80s. I don't remember ever seeing a mall security guy with a gun, much less a gun drawn through the middle of a crowded mall. But it ups the stakes, and who knows? Wonder Woman stops them all. Over the top of the mall heist action scene, we are hearing the voice of Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, as a totally 80s greed is good style thinker who's a master of marketing and plastering his face all over television, selling the American dream. After Barbara meets Diana, their boss asks them to look at an artifact with strange writing on it that was the subject of the mall heist in the previous scene, and they're trying to figure out why this thing is so special. And Diana then reads the inscription and finds out that the stone is capable of granting you one wish. Maxwell Lord soon enters the picture, in person this time, shows up at the museum looking for the stone as well. At first, no one believes that the stone can actually grant wishes, but soon enough, a guy wishes for a cup of coffee, Diana wishes for Steve Trevor to come back from the dead, and Barbara wishes that she had the life, the skills, the beauty, and the athleticism of Diana. So let's talk about some of the good aspects about Wonder Woman 1984. The tone and the visuals of this film are second to none. They are really well designed. As you guys probably saw in the trailer, there are action scenes in a desert caravan and in the White House in the hallways. Both are really well designed and really well done. However, neither one of them really does a ton to further the story, further the plot, further the character development. They're just sort of cool action pieces, and they're there. They're just sort of eye candy. They don't really do a whole lot to further the story, but they're there. Also in the good category for Wonder Woman 1984 is Kristen Wiig's performance as Barbara Minerva / the Cheetah. It is a really nuanced performance. playing more of a tragic figure than a true villain, and in a lot of ways, her story is actually almost that of a co-lead for this film. She gets almost as much time in the first half of the movie as Wonder Woman herself. Also in this film are a lot, and I do mean a lot, of really well thought out 80s jokes that actually are pretty funny. Everything from Quantum Leap jokes, to fanny packs, to fashion, to technology of the day. So that's the good. Now it's time to talk about some of the bad things about Wonder Woman 1984. While Patty Jenkins is a supremely talented director and did a great job with Wonder Woman the first time out, this time around she gets 2.5 hours of runtime to play with, and yeah. While Jenkins did an amazing job in the first film by flipping the traditional male-dominant origin story, this time around the messaging and the storytelling are a lot less. The messaging aspect of the film is laid on really, really thick. However, she doesn't know what she wants the message to be. It's sort of a cautionary tale of be careful what you wish for, getting muddled up throughout the film with greed is good, honesty is the best policy, and just be yourself. The messaging is so confused at times, it actually seems like they're saying that it's a bad thing to try and want things, to actually want to have a better life. Also, the backstory for the Dreamstone itself is really muddled and confused, and they rarely even refer to it as the Dreamstone. There's no setup for the Dreamstone in the action scene at the start of the film. There's no callback to it at the end of the film. And there's really even only one reference to who made the Dreamstone and why it's evil, buried in the middle of that one scene exposition dump in the middle of the film. The other thing that's really troublesome with this film is the messaging regarding Steve Trevor's appearance. He's brought back in the body of another person, some random guy living in Washington, D.C., just so they can do a Quantum Leap sight gag. Part of the problem with this, though, is they keep talking about issues of morality and honesty and not cheating. They do a couple of scenes at this guy's apartment where Steve Trevor talks about how messy he is, and he has no real sense of fashion, but neither one of them talks about how he's in this other guy's body and it's his body. And yet there's no real talk about, is it okay that he's in his body? Like, why is Steve taking over this guy's body, and why do neither one of them feel bad about it? And for a film that makes all these kinds of statements about not stealing and not cheating, both Steve and Diana don't waste any time having a romance scene off camera. So while Wonder Woman 1984 has a really fun tone, it's actually upbeat, it's nice and colorful, and the Wonder Woman costume is probably the best we've seen in the DCU so far, the story lacks focus, the pacing is bad, and there's almost zero impact from this story. The true evil bad guy of this film is rarely referenced and never seen. The evil object corrupts people, but not completely. Without a clearly defined antagonist, and without a truly evil foe for Wonder Woman to square off against, the film lacks stakes and lacks conflict. The action that takes place looks really cool, but has very little purpose beyond that. The action and fight sequences don't really further the plot or the character development, and they end without any clear progress or any real change happening. The Hans Zimmer score is amazing and adds a lot of depth and gravitas to the film, but not enough to overcome the confused messaging or tell a complete story. This is not a bad film by any means, but it is just sort of flat when it could have been really good. I'm giving this film 2.5 stars out of 5. If you'd like to read the full review that I did for Wonder Woman 1984, please be sure to check that out on reviewNation.net, link down in the description below. Also, if you'd like to support my channel, please be sure to hit the like button until it turns blue for the YouTube algorithm, and be sure to hit the subscribe button so you find out the very second I post any videos to this channel. And if you'd like to check out another video, please be sure to click right over here. This is the review that I did for Greenland. That is Gerard Butler's new action, sci-fi, world's blowing up movie. Check it out right over here. That is the review that I did for Greenland. I've been Dragon Movie Guy, and I will see you next time.